Welcome back to ASBR Boxing. My name is Gregory Doyle. I am delighted to be joined tonight by Niall. In this video, we are discussing a potential Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury fight. First of all, Owen, I just want to say thanks for jumping on tonight. And is it possible for you to give me the thoughts of your own on Anthony Joshua's recent win there last Friday against Francis Ngannou?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I think, like most people, it was highly impressive what he done. A lot of people saying, which is true, it's what Tyson Fury should have done to him. No disrespect to Francis Ngannou, a hell of an athlete, heavy-handed, but there's levels and the difference in sport is there for a reason. So I thought it was clinical from AJ, ruthless, but like composed, but ruthless as well at the same time. I thought it was an excellent performance, and yeah, he done the job on Ngannou that he was meant to do, and what Fury should have done. So I thought it was a good night's work from Anthony Joshua last Friday.
Yeah. Now, I just want to quickly touch point. Why did Anthony Joshua look so impressive against Francis Ngannou, but Tyson Fury didn't? Is it simply the fact that Joshua is the style where if he can knock you out, he'll do it, whereas Fury he seems to box in a way where I wouldn't say he likes to make his opponent look silly, but he likes to look the superior. And it's almost as though that encouraged Francis Ngannou. What are your thoughts on why it was so difficult for Tyson Fury?
It's a good question, to be honest with you, and I've always been of the opinion that I think Tyson Fury drastically overlooked Francis Ngannou. Again, no disrespect to Ngannou, but quite understandably, I think Tyson Fury expected to win. He was never going to lose that fight, and he drastically overlooked him. Now, he very nearly paid the price for it when he was knocked down, and he looked terrible. And people will say, even if he did overlook him, he shouldn't have looked that bad against Francis Ngannou. But I do think Tyson Fury overlooked him. I think we're never going to see him that bad again. And I think Anthony Joshua was a much more professional performance on Ngannou. Maybe because of how good Ngannou looked against Fury, Joshua thought, right, I can't take this fella lightly. And that was a wake-up call for Joshua as well too, I'd say. But yeah, it was a highly kind of unprofessional approach to that fight from Tyson Fury, and it showed. I just think he totally had written off the challenge of Ngannou there, and Joshua didn't make that mistake. And the proof is in the pudding of how both fights ended.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think for me, Niall, it's if Tyson Fury didn't look so bad against Ngannou, I'm not sure AJ would have taken him as serious as he did. I think he would have always taken him serious, but with the level of performance, I think he had to treat it just like it was a normal fight against a top heavyweight contender. And credit to him for doing that. It was a fantastic knockout. Um, Obviously, we want to discuss AJ and Fury on this video, but there's a couple of interesting points I think we need to discuss on the road to basically whether we think that who's going to win that fight. But I think touch pointing on the Ngannou performances from both was very important. And I'm going to do it with another fighter now, although we've only seen one end of that. Tyson Fury slated to fight Alexander Usyk on the 18th of May. Give me your thoughts on that, Niall. I know that we've seen AJ fighting Usyk twice, and I think to AJ's credit, the second time he made it quite a close fight, but Usyk still won the fight. How do you see that going on May the 18th? And either way, does that make us closer to an AJ Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury fight?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because we're discussing AJ Fury, but Fury still has the not so small task of getting past Usyk twice. They're slated to fight twice now, which is it's the biggest challenge you can get. So I'm really curious to see this one. I'm buzzing for this one, to be honest with you. I was gutted when it got called off the first time due to the cut, but as I mentioned there. I can't imagine Tyson Fury is going to be as bad as he was against Francis Ngannou, against Alexander Usyk. He's just not. I think he's going to rise to the occasion, and I think he's going to be in top kind of shape for this. And I'm not saying he's guaranteed to beat Usyk, obviously, but I think it's going to be a really excellent fight. And I think I've always been of the opinion that Tyson Fury, out of anyone, has the style to beat Usyk, out of anyone else. So, as you mentioned, credit to AJ. Fought well in the rematch. Definitely fought better in the rematch, but Usyk is just a different level. But Fury, I think, on his best day is more than capable of defeating Alexander Usyk. I just hope that he can turn up 100% because he's gonna need to.
Be interesting, won't it? Now, I'll be honest with you. I've changed my mind once or twice for different reasons. I've always fancied Usyk to beat Fury, but Fury's performances against guys like Dillian White, it did change my mind a little bit, and I thought this is going to be a case of a good big guy beats a great little guy. So it'll be really interesting to see that fight. I'm looking forward to it. Just very briefly on that, do you think a win or a loss for Fury makes the AJ fight any closer? What one do you think would make the fight more realistic?
I think a Fury win. I think a Fury is to beat Usyk obviously twice with the slated rematch. I don't think there's any reason why it shouldn't be made. There's talk since last Friday of how would AJ get on against Usyk if they fought a third time. I don't have the appetite for that. I don't know if many people have the appetite for that. AJ is never going to beat Usyk. There's no shame in it, but it's never going to happen. So I think if, especially like Fury AJ anyway, would have been the biggest British boxing fight ever. It'd sell out Wembley twice or three times over. But if Fury was to beat Usyk twice, it goes even bigger. If it even could go bigger, but it goes bigger if Fury comes into it off the back of beating Usyk twice, and AJ continues on this kind of knockout trajectory that he's on. So I think Fury win would make it a very viable. I think there's nowhere else to go then for both men. Not that there's nowhere, that's they're both at the summit. So I just think, yeah, let's do it. If Fury gets past Usyk, I don't see any reason whatsoever this fight can't be made next.
It's a really interesting one. It's a fight I'm really looking forward to between Fury and Usyk. I think that it's stylistically so interesting, but I'll be honest with you now. My gut tells me that see the outcome of the first fight, I think you might see AJ and Fury after it. See, as long as say for example Tyson Fury wins, I see Alexander Usyk maybe taking step aside money and being promised the winner, etc. I just think it's too big a fight not to happen, but it's one we will need to see how it pans out. So, on to the real topic of the video, Niall. I want to talk to you a little bit about Fury and Joshua. We've obviously seen times where we probably think Fury really should beat Joshua. He looks far superior. We've seen times now where it's swaying back a little bit, and we're seeing how Joshua dealt with Ngannou, etc. Um, Before we get into what you think the outcome will be, has your opinion changed over time, or have you always kind of stuck with the one idea of how you think that fight goes?
Yeah, good question because the only time my opinion has ever kind of wavered on this fight is after the Ngannou performance. That was the biggest worry after that. The Fury that fought Ngannou gets blasted out there by Joshua, I think, but it goes again to say I don't think he's ever going to fight that badly ever again, Fury. So I'm writing that off as a one off kind of horror show from Fury. As I say, he drastically underestimated somebody from outside the sport, and he nearly paid for it. But I think it'll be in a totally different frame of mind, and it'll be a totally different performance against Joshua. So, yeah, to answer your question, the Ngannou performance did kind of really change my opinion. But if I was to judge it now on the best version of each, I'm gonna stick to what I kind of always thought this fight was gonna play out like.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting now because I'll be honest, my mind has kind of changed over time. From day one, I've always said I think Anthony Joshua stylistically gives Tyson Fury so many problems. I've always said it, even after the Alexander Usyk losses. I did watch Tyson Fury versus Dillian White, and it made me think a little bit because the knockout was so impressive. And I did think if AJ gets hit with that, I think it would go the same way. But what I would say, see stylistically, see now, me and the guys at ESPR some time ago, you probably seen little bits of what we've spoken about. We always said the bad man had to come back. Now, when we said that, we were talking about this aggressive combination punching Anthony Joshua. Now, the past two fights, he's looked a little bit more like himself. If that Anthony Joshua turns up against Tyson Fury, and say Tyson Fury is the Tyson Fury who I'm trying to think at his best fought and beat maybe Deontay Wilder too. Do you see? How do you see that fight going? Do you think? Do you still really think that it's Fury all the way with that fight, or do you think we could see a multiple knockdown blockbuster?
I think me and you agree most of the time on these videos. We're
Yeah,
the same wavelength, but this one I'd have to disagree. I've always been of the opinion that Fury would just have Joshua's number. Stylistically, I just think that Joshua. You mentioned about the mean streak, the aggression, which has come back over the last couple of fights, which is good to see. But Fury is just a different level. I think Fury. I don't want to use the word that Josh was too basic for Fury, but I just think he's not that kind of unorthodox huge hitter that Wilder is that gave Fury those problems. Even though Fury beat him twice and not knocked him down a couple of times. I think Wilder was a tougher challenge for Fury because of how unorthodox he was. And I don't think that Anthony Joshua is gonna has the power of Wilder to put Fury down for the count, So I just think, yeah, Fury has more tools to his belt than Joshua to get a win in this one. And I don't think he's gonna stay as far away from the inside on this one as possible. I think he's gonna use his boxing. He's gonna box this in the back foot, keep Joshua on the end of a jab. Obviously not as simple as that, but you know what I mean. He's gonna keep Joshua at range and just pick him off and win fairly widely on points for me. I just think stylistically, I think Fury is wrong for Joshua, but it would need to be the Joshua that we've seen the last couple of fights and the Joshua of old, pure aggression, well calculated aggression, combination punching. AJ that's full of confidence, but yeah, Fury for me all the way.
final question now, because I already know without asking the outright question who wins AJ Fury. And I know now that your belief lies with Fury, but I want to give you one scenario before we wrap up, to try and make this interesting. Say we get to May 18th, Alexander Usyk beats Tyson Fury via split decision. It's a relatively close fight, that Usyk maybe just deserves to win. Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury is called after that, and say they fight in December of this year. Are you really confident that Fury will show up and still win that fight in December, or does that change things coming off of that loss for Fury?
It's a good question, to be honest. It's a very good question. If I suppose it depends how the Usyk fight goes. If it is that kind of razor tight split decision, which I think it will be either way. By the way, I think it's going to be that close. I think Fury could definitely still turn up with enough confidence to outbox AJ for 12 rounds and win a points decision. But if Usyk goes in there and kind of boxes rings around Tyson Fury and destroys his confidence, it dents that huge ego of Tyson Fury. I think AJ could be in for a good night. He could be kind of ripe for the pick in Tyson Fury. So to kind of sit on the fence, I suppose it depends the manner in which Usyk will beat him. But I think if it's close, Fury will still have enough belief in himself to go in there and beat AJ. But yeah, I think Usyk Fury will be very close either way.
Yeah, I think for me, Niall, just to wrap up, it's a fight that I've always been really back and forth with. I was quite confident that Anthony Joshua would beat Tyson Fury in the beginning. The more Tyson Fury progressed in his career, the way that he fought Wilder, the way that he dealt with Dillian White. Now, whether you rate Dillian White or whether you don't, the way that he dealt with him is still really impressive. Although I did think Dillian White could have been better that night now, but the uppercut and just the class to land it the way he did, it'll live with me. But I'll be completely honest. If AJ and Fury fight, regardless of what happens on May the 18th, I'm going to sit in the fence. I just see two guys who it's the best man for me that turns up on the night, because whether Deontay Wilder hits harder than Anthony Joshua or not, I don't know. It's a different type of power. I think there's something more clinical about the way AJ hits rather than Wilder. although Wilder does hit harder. I wouldn't deny that at all. So it's a fight I think I'll always go back and forward on it, Niall, until it happens. I think it's one of those ones, it could be that close a fight depending on the outcome of circumstances. Listen, thank you so much for jumping on and speaking to me tonight. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed that video. Me and Niall quickly looking into a future fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. If you want to see more from ESPR, you can subscribe down below, see all of our latest content. And yeah, we've always got something coming up every fight week. Niall, thank you so much for joining me and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks for having me on. Take care.